The Amazon River UK, Quimzén, US, Quimzán. Spanish, Rio Amazonas, Portuguese, Rio Amazonas, in South America, is the largest river by discharge volume of water in the world, and the longest or second longest river system in the world, a title which is disputed with the Nile. The headwaters of the Apurimac River on Nevado Mismi had been considered for nearly a century the Amazon basin's most distant source, until a 2014 study found it to be the headwaters of the Montaro River on the Cordillera Rumi Cruz in Peru. 24 The Montaro and Apurimac rivers join, and with other tributaries from the Ucayali River, which in turn meets the Marañón River upstream of Iquitos, Peru, forming what countries other than Brazil consider to be the main stem of the Amazon. Brazilians call this section the Solimões River, above its confluence with the Rio Negro, forming what Brazilians call the Amazon at the meeting of waters, Portuguese, Encontro das Águas, at Manaus, the largest city on the river. The Amazon River has an average discharge of about 215,000 to 230,000 cubic meters per second, 7,600,000 to 8,100,000 cu-foot per second, approximately 6,591 to 7,570 cubic kilometers, 1,581 to 1,816 cumi per year, greater than the next 7 largest independent rivers combined. 2 of the top 10 rivers by discharge are tributaries of the Amazon River. The Amazon represents 20% of the global riverine discharge into oceans. 26. The Amazon Basin is the largest drainage basin in the world, with an area of approximately 7 million square kilometers to 1,700,000 square miles. 3. The portion of the river's drainage basin in Brazil alone is larger than any other river's basin. The Amazon enters Brazil with than any other river's basin. The Amazon enters Brazil with only 1/5 of the flow, finally discharges into the Atlantic Ocean, yet already has a greater flow at this point than the discharge of any other river in the world. Recent geological studies suggest that for millions of years, the Amazon River used to flow in the opposite direction, from east to west. Eventually the Andes Mountains formed, blocking its flow to the Pacific Ocean and causing it to switch directions to its current mouth in the Atlantic Ocean during what many archaeologists call the formative stage. Amazonian societies were deeply involved in the emergence of South America's highland agrarian systems. The trade with Andean civilizations in the terrains of the headwaters in the Andes formed an essential contribution to the social and religious development of higher altitude civilizations, like the Muisca and Incas. Early human settlements were typically based on low-lying hills or mounds. Shell mounds were the earliest evidence of habitation. They represent piles of human refuse waste, and are mainly dated between 7500 BC and 4000 BC. They are associated with ceramic age cultures. No preceramic shell mounds have been documented so far by archaeologists. 36 artificial earth platforms for entire villages are the second type of mounds. They are best represented by the Marajoara culture. Figurative mounds are the most recent types of occupation. There is ample evidence that the areas surrounding the Amazon River were home to complex and large-scale indigenous societies, mainly chiefdoms who developed towns and cities. 37 archaeologists estimate that by the time the Spanish conquistador de Orellana traveled across the Amazon in 1541, more than 3 million indigenous people lived around the Amazon. 38 these pre-Columbian settlements created highly developed civilizations. For instance, pre-Columbian indigenous people on the island of Marajo May have developed social stratification and supported a population of 100,000 people. To achieve this level of development, the indigenous inhabitants of the Amazon rainforest altered the forest's ecology by selective cultivation and the use of fire. Scientists argue that by burning areas of the forest repeatedly, the indigenous people caused the soil to become richer in nutrients. This created dark soil areas known as Terra Preta de Indio, Indian dark earth. 39. Because of the Terra Preta, indigenous communities were able to make land fertile and thus sustainable for the large-scale agriculture needed to support their large populations and complex social structures. Further research has hypothesized that this practice began around 11,000 years ago. Some say that its effects on forest ecology and regional climate explain the otherwise inexplicable band of lower rainfall through the Amazon basin. 39. Many indigenous tribes engaged in constant warfare. According to James S. Olson, the Munduruku expansion in the 18th century dislocated and displaced the Kawahibe, breaking the tribe down into much smaller groups. Munduruku first came to the attention of Europeans in 1770 when they began a series of widespread attacks on Brazilian settlements along the Amazon River.